It is nearly impossible to overcome dysfunction. I think people don't realize how much that having a bad coach or bad ownership or being part of a bad organization or having bad teammates, people don't understand how much that can bring you down. And even the best quarterbacks in the entire world, guys like Aaron Rodgers comes to mind. People have been saying for years, hey, Aaron needs better receivers. So if even Aaron Rodgers, the guy who won the NFL MVP last year, is a 3-time MVP winner, if even Aaron needs help, what that really means is you can't do it alone at the quarterback position. Tom Brady has won 7 Super Bowls. Every single time he did that, he had some help. The Kansas City Chiefs are great. They have Patrick Mahomes. Yes, he's a fantastic quarterback. But even without Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City still would have a really good roster. But there are quarterbacks that, and the common phrase you hear about them, you hear this: he can't win the big game. You hear that often. This guy or that guy, he's just not capable of winning the big game. Whatever that means. It's massively overused. I hate that phrase. I mean, it may be true occasionally. Every once in a while, there is actually a guy who doesn't handle pressure very well, gets very, very nervous, gets stressed out. But the phrase that the guy that he can't win the big game, that gets overused way too much. It's massively overused. And so with quarterbacks, you have to ask the question, does the team around them help them or hurt them? So I want to talk about 4 quarterbacks whose careers have been hurt and held back by the teams they played for. 2 are retired, 2 are not. Now, first let me say, there are certainly more than just 4 quarterbacks who have been held back by the team around them. I even considered putting Russell Wilson on this list. Now, that would have been silly. He won a Super Bowl, but I would even argue, imagine what could have been if the Seahawks had gotten Russell Wilson, a good offensive line, years ago. But again, he won a Super Bowl. So I do want to say, I want to put it out there. I'm curious. Once you hear my 4 guys, please write in. Tell me if there are any more people who you want me to talk about who got held back by their team who are like, hey, that guy got a rough deal. His career could have been so much greater had he been somewhere else. Now, the first guy I want to talk about is actually none other than Tony Romo. And during Tony Romo's first year as the Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback, his team made the playoffs. And in 2006, in the NFC wildcard round against Seattle, with a minute left, the Cowboys were kicking a field goal to take the lead. And Tony Romo fumbled the snap. It's a moment that has lived with Tony his entire life since that moment. His team lost, and for many people, it was because it was their first time watching him play. It was their first impression of Tony Romo. A lot of people that may not watch every single Dallas Cowboys game week to week were like, oh, playoff game, let's turn it on. There's not that many games going on during wildcard weekend. You watch the Cowboys game, that's the first time you ever saw Tony Romo play, and most people never forgot it. And most people never moved on. And so public perception of Tony Romo started in that moment. By the way, the question nobody ever does seem to ask is, why is your starting quarterback holding a field goal? I have no idea. I don't know why. To me, I would say he never should have been holding that field goal to begin with. So there never really should have been an opportunity for that to go badly. But from that moment on, the 2006 NFC wildcard game, Tony Romo fumbles the snap. 2 things happened from that moment on. Number 1, Tony Romo got way better. He had a phenomenal career. I thought, we'll talk about that in a minute. But the second thing that happened was the Cowboys got way worse. Their coach and the guy who built their team that year, Bill Parcells, left. And the Cowboys struggled mightily year after year after year. The only redeeming quality about the Cowboys during that era was, in fact, Tony Romo. And so people often criticize Tony for not being able to win big games. But what they failed to realize was, no. Tony was the only reason the game was close to begin with. And year after year, Dallas had bad offensive lines, bad defenses. Constantly, as they are still to this day, the Cowboys were overhyped. And when the Cowboys failed to win a ton, the guy who got blamed was Tony Romo. And no one ever thought, instead of blaming the quarterback, what maybe, just possibly, could it be the team around the quarterback? I don't know. Because, again, I repeat this, man. We've seen time and time again. Aaron Rodgers needs help. Tom Brady needs help. Patrick Mahomes even needs help. So why would Tony Romo be any different? But instead of look at maybe the deficiencies around him, everyone chose to blame Tony Romo. And what's really most sad is that the best team Tony ever played on came during his final year in the NFL. Remember, he got hurt, and Dak Prescott became the starting quarterback in Dallas. In fact, he lost his job to Dak Prescott because when Tony was healthy again, they said, nah, we're going on a playoff run. We had a good year. We're going to stick with our rookie quarterback. And so they chose to bench Tony Romo. And on a team with Super Bowl potential, they played their rookie quarterback rather than their experienced, battle-tested veteran quarterback who'd been with them for years. And I want to put this out there because I truly believe this, and I will always believe this. In that year, during their playoff run, Dallas should have played Tony Romo rather than Dak Prescott. I believe they missed out on a shot at a Super Bowl because they chose the wrong quarterback in that moment. Should Dak have been the guy moving forward? Yeah, probably. Tony got hurt every year. Tony was aging, and Dak was the young, new hotshot guy. But the question is, did they sacrifice short-term, maybe even a Super Bowl victory, to keep good standing and good faith with Dak so he could be their guy long-term? I think so. Now, Tony's an amazing broadcaster now, but I still find it a bit sad. I look around, I look back at his career, and I go, I think he's still retired. Let me rephrase it. I think he retired with a little bit still left in the tank. Even though he's my favorite broadcaster of all time, he is a joy to watch during every single game and listen to. I still think Tony left a little bit on the table, and it's very sad the way things went down in Dallas. And it's sad the way he's remembered and not really given the respect that he's deserved, in my opinion. Now, quarterback number 2 is Carson Palmer. And I have less to say here, but I would like to warn people, guys like Joe Burrow, guys like Trevor Lawrence, pay attention to the story I'm about to tell about Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer won a Heisman Trophy at USC, was a number 1 overall pick, a phenomenal quarterback in college. And then he went to Cincinnati. And this is where things began to have problems. Because Carson was a Hall of Fame caliber player who wasted year after year after year on a terrible team with a terrible organization, the Cincinnati Bengals. By the way, the Bengals have not won a playoff game in over 30 years. The last time the Bengals won a playoff game was 1990, and they beat the Houston Oilers, a team that does not exist anymore. And Carson Palmer has been very open about how the Bengals ownership was cheap. They would not go after free agents. They were not actually trying to win a Super Bowl. They just wanted to be good enough to sell tickets and stay profitable. That's a huge problem. I would not want to play for the Cincinnati Bengals. So Carson wasted the prime years of his career in Cincinnati. In fact, he had to threaten to retire in order to get the Bengals ownership to trade him out of there. And it was sad because he went to the Raiders first, and it wasn't until after a while he went to the Arizona Cardinals. And unfortunately, he was past the prime of his career by the time he got to Arizona. He did lead them to an NFC championship game, but Carson Palmer wasted the best years of his career on a horrible, horrible team. It's very sad. He was held back by the organization he played for. So I encourage you, do not be like Carson Palmer. Whether you're a football player, in finance, I don't know what you do in your life, but do not waste the best years of your life with bad people that suck. That's all I can say. And that's the lesson you can learn from Carson Palmer's career. Now, quarterback number 3 is actually Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan. This is interesting. I'm sure it's a bit odd for some people. He did go to a Super Bowl. But I would actually say that the fact that Matt Ryan went to a Super Bowl does actually, in fact, help my point when I point out that he's been held back by his organization. Because the one time Matt Ryan had a good coach, Kyle Shanahan, as his offensive coordinator, now the coach of the 49ers, and a good team. He had, a great roster in Atlanta that year. The one time Matt Ryan had good coaching and a good team around him, he won the NFL MVP and he went to a Super Bowl. In fact, Matt Ryan even had the lead 28-3 in that Super Bowl. That's what Matt Ryan is capable of when he's given help. Now, the Falcons are bad right now, and that, in fact, still hurts the confidence people have in Matt Ryan. But I ask you this. In fact, ask yourself this. Look around the league. What if Matt Ryan was the quarterback of the New England Patriots right now? We would view the Patriots as Super Bowl contenders if they had Matt Ryan today, right now. What about the Denver Broncos? What if the Denver Broncos had, and it wouldn't work financially, but imagine they had Matt Ryan. That's a Super Bowl contender. New Orleans, that's a Super Bowl contender. Maybe the 49ers, less so. The Miami Dolphins with Matt Ryan, that's a Super Bowl team. And so to me, that's proof enough to say, hey, if you take this guy out of the team he's on and put him in a different situation with better people around him, if we would all have confidence that, hey, Matt Ryan in Denver or Miami would win a Super Bowl, that tells me he's being held back by the team around him. That's enough evidence for me to believe Matt Ryan is held back by his organization. Now, the final quarterback on this list is one that excites me. This is a list of guys who have been held back by their organization. And I believe we will get proof after this year that Matthew Stafford is, in fact, one of those people. Matthew Stafford played for 12 years in Detroit, playing for the Detroit Lions. And I have heard countless times people say, oh, he can't win the big game, or all he does is pad his stats. And I would argue that, no. Matthew Stafford is not the problem. The Detroit Lions are a dysfunctional mess. Did you know, I'm sure you do, that the year before the Lions drafted Matthew Stafford, they went 0-16. That's where they were before Matthew Stafford. He joined that team. They were awful. Even good quarterbacks need help. Now, Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback who has always been on a terrible, terrible team. Until now. That's the best part of the story. If you disagree, hey, no problem. Maybe you think Matthew Stafford is a bum. He's terrible. He's awful. He's the reason why the Lions have been bad for years. I am sure there's a Lions fan in Detroit right now arguing that. But guess what? He got traded to LA, got traded to the Rams. So this year we're going to find out. Hey, now he's on a team with a great defense, maybe the best in the NFL. A good coach, Sean McVay, good receivers, good offensive line. This year we're going to find out who's right. I believe Matthew Stafford is going to be amazing this year, and people are finally going to realize just how much he was held back during his career by the Detroit Lions. So those are my four guys who, and I know there's more out there, four guys who were held back by terrible organizations during their career. Tony Romo, Carson Palmer, Matt Ryan, and in fact, Matthew Stafford. If you have more, feel free to write in, let me know. I would be happy to, I don't know if I'm going to do another topic about this, but I'm happy to consider this. And even if it's just for my own personal well-being, I hate to see, oh yeah, you're right. That guy, maybe that guy. I still would argue Russell Wilson might have got held back during his career. Let me know if there's a guy that comes to mind for you who you think got held back during their career as an NFL quarterback.